Cerys Bevan, do you think that too much emphasis on the Welsh language in our schools has caused Wales to score so poorly in the PISA rankings?
The PISA rankings, that's the rankings done by the OECD survey under its programme for international student assessment. As Welsh language, teaching Welsh language contributed to that. And just for those who are not immediately familiar, in Wales, maths, the standard fell 43rd out of 60 countries, fell down to 43rd out of 6 countries, and in science, 6 places down to 36 out of 65 countries. Michael Fabricant, too much emphasis on the Welsh language?
I had the privilege many years ago of serving on the Welsh language bill, and I fought long and hard to see that Wales and the Welsh language had equality with that of England. But it's true what you say, Jonathan. I mean, Wales has some of the worst schools in the Western world now. If you look at science, nonsense. Wales is 41 compared with England, which is 18th. 18th is not brilliant, but Wales is 41. On maths, Wales is 35 compared to England's 24. Reading, Wales is 38 compared to 22. Look, the Welsh for neutron is neutron. You know, it's difficult enough to find in England people who are good maths, physics and chemistry teachers. To ask them to be bilingual as well is nonsense. I know that the school in Tywyn in Gwynedd are finding real problems finding science teachers who are bilingual. Yes, let's indeed try and promote the Welsh language, because the whole heritage of Wales, Nietzsche once said, you know, that the heritage of a nation and the way a nation thinks is based on its language. So yes, we must keep the Welsh language. Let's not forget that the Welsh language, by the way, was the language of Breton, the language of Britain. And the language I'm speaking, English, is a relatively new language. So let's keep Welsh, but let's be sensible too. And if Wales is going to succeed, all the plans that Carwyn Jones may or may not have for skills will come to naught unless we get good, skilled kids coming out of Welsh schools, and they are not at the moment.
Plaid Cymru MEP, Jill Evans.
Well, I think that the Welsh language is not just an advantage to us as a nation, as a modern European bilingual nation, but it's an advantage to our young people and to our economy. And many studies have shown that children who are taught bilingually from a very young age, from primary school, actually have a better capacity to learn other languages. And one of the things we've heard this week is how poor we are at learning other foreign languages, and calls for not just Welsh and English, but for other languages to be taught at primary level and right through school as well. And we see it happening in other countries across Europe. I know in the European Parliament, I work every day with people who speak not 2, but 3, 4, 5 languages, and they learnt those in school, and they learnt them to a standard that they could speak.
That's different from bilingualism, isn't it? Which is what Michael Fabricant's talking about.
It's the way that you treat the language within the school, isn't it? If you have a school that is a bilingual school, then those children learn through the 2 languages. And if you do it from an early age, then it doesn't disadvantage them in the slightest. It's
but
quite
where
the
are you
opposite.
going to get the teachers
and it doesn't
from?
Doesn't reflect on the standard of their education across the board.
Look, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Jill, but the problem is there are not enough maths and physics teachers who can just speak English, let alone English and Welsh, and that's the problem.
Carwyn Jones.
I mean, if Michael lived in Wales, he would know that's wholly untrue. The reality is, the reality is, I've had your say, the reality is that Welsh medium schools, like many schools, will find difficulties in recruiting in certain areas, but I can tell you there are teachers teaching science and maths with the medium of Welsh. The idea that Welsh is holding Wales back is nonsense. And why? Well, England's performance in PISA wasn't exactly anything to write home about either. But if you look at the countries ahead of England and Wales in the PISA tables, they're countries where people are bilingual, trilingual and quadrilingual. Otherwise, what you're suggesting is that if kids speak 2 or 3 languages, somehow they're not going to do as well in school.
So why are high schools in Wales
hold on,
having a real problem recruiting
Michael, hold it. Let him finish his point.
Why are they having that problem?
There are no significant problems in recruiting teachers to teach the medium of Welsh. There are problems in recruiting science and maths teachers. Generally, that's true. But the idea that somehow...
People note that you abolished SATs back in the early 2000s, and you also don't have school league tables, which some people say that's played part. To what do you attribute the relative weakness of Wales in relation to England in education? I mean, it's a devolved power, the education system here.
I think the reality is that for many years the eye was taken off the ball. I think that's pretty true. I think the fact we now have the National Literacy and Numeracy framework is going to help in terms of testing children. But I think it's also true to say that we need to work harder in terms of encouraging children to have more confidence, to make sure that when they try exams they have more belief in themselves to pass it.
Lord Steele.
That's part of it.
Lord Steele.
Jonathan, I'm the only one on the 4 on the panel who's not qualified to give an opinion on this at all, and therefore I don't see why I should. I know politicians are good at giving opinions on things they know nothing about, but I think at this point I draw the line.
Says Williams, Bevan, sorry, you put the question. What is your... implicit in the question is that you do think it's contributed negatively.
I do, yes. I was a state school comprehensive teacher, and I now run a private tuition company in the town of Neath. And it's thriving, and I must say that about 60% of the pupils that I teach privately for English come from Welsh medium primary schools in the area and the Welsh medium secondary school as well. And there is a problem, in my opinion, with recruiting Welsh language maths teachers, because I've been in business for 9 years in Neath now. We have well over 100 children a week coming to my tuition centre, and 3 years ago, there was a problem with maths teaching in the comprehensive school, where a maths teacher was off sick and they couldn't find a supply teacher who could speak Welsh and cover the maths. And at one point, we had nearly a whole class from one school coming for extra tuition, and parents were having to pay to have that extra tuition. So the amount of children whose parents select for them to have a Welsh education, which is fantastic, you know, that they have this choice. They're also having to top up the school day with their English as well.
As a teacher, if you could find the teachers who are bilingual, would the performance of the children then be fine, or is it still damaged by having to be bilingual?
I'm not a Welsh speaker, so I'm biased towards the English language. But in our experience, we tutor through the medium of English, and we tutor GCSE children from Welsh medium schools through the medium of English, even though they are being taught in school in Welsh. As soon as we start teaching them in English, it's like a light bulb moment for them. It's like, oh, hang on. I don't have to use Google Translate anymore. I actually understand this maths concept because it's been explained to me in English. The problem that a lot of children are having is that they're not understanding the Welsh first, and then they have the maths problem is a secondary issue.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask our audience again here in Neath. Do you think too much emphasis on the Welsh language in our schools has caused Wales to score so poorly? Has it been a contributory factor? Those who think it has been a factor, would you put your hands up? Those who think it's not relevant, again, very, very evenly divided. We'll leave it there and go to our next.